and we're not talking about it this week.
And a little bit of YouTube as well. Hey there, everyone. We're just
Hello.
we're just a bunch of goofballs, a bunch of football fans here. I'm Gomra Zillikong. Anyone else like to introduce yourselves?
Someone else can go first. Shine's in the middle of something.
I'm Shiloh. Yeah. Hello.
I am the Marfman.
Hi, gamers, joining us across the several interwebs, such as Nate's channel, my channel, Marf's channel, Shadow's channel. My name's Johnny, aka ItsJohnnyRose. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, we got one more.
We got one more.
I did mine.
Oh, you did? Okay.
What do you want from me?
Sorry, I forgot immediately. But yeah, we're gonna be going over the this week and 2 Mondays after. We're gonna be giving our own previews for the 2023 NFL season. Today we're gonna be starting with the AFC. Now, for a quick background before we get started in these in a few minutes. Again, amateurs. I don't believe any of us been on any like actual televised or otherwise like commercially broadcast items talk about NFL before. My knowledge extends to for my preparations for this. I read a few different like NFL preview books like that, the one from Warren Sharp, and listened to a bunch of. I like to listen to a lot of NFL podcasts, like the Mina Kimes podcast around the NFL and stuff. And other than that, just read and watch things off of film, analytics, draft, and gambling NFL Twitters, just because I guess I'm obsessed with the numbers of things. How about the rest of you? Where's your knowledge come from?
Most of my knowledge is based in fantasy football, so individual players for the most part. But I did some very cursory glances around just like ESPN and also the official like NFL sites for the teams to try to scout out the players and see how they did last year and what I can project into this year based on that.
I grew up in the South, and if you ever want to carry a conversation, you had to know sports.
Fair enough.
Sorry if I stole your answer, Shiloh. I apologize.
No. Find. There we go. Put that there, because I realized the names were showing on OBS, so it's like little black boxes over them. My bad. Working now. But yeah, mine just came from growing up in a very sports-centric household, getting weirdly enough the Cowboys from my dad in the Bay Area.
I'm so sorry.
They are very much not fun. Yeah.
America's team.
America.
That's true. We are.
Hasn't made it past the divisional round since before 2000.
Had to get out of the way, huh, Nate?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Don't worry, I used to be a Browns fan.
What do you mean?
No.
They haven't won a Super Bowl since probably before I was even alive. So
I was definitely while you were alive, because I was like 8 months when they won.
you're older than me by like 3 years. What do you mean?
I am not. You're older than me.
You're like 45. What do you mean?
I'm gonna leave.
All right, but yeah, I think that's pretty good for when it comes to introductions for all of us, and we'll go ahead and get started soon. We're going to be doing 6 minutes for each team, and then at the bit to spare before the 2 hours is up, we'll kind of go over other quick notes for things. Let's go ahead and start with the AFC East as we climb up the order. First in divisions in 2022. We're going to be starting with the wonderful and illustrious New York Jets. Shiloh, can you take it away?
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start with this one. I guess the main things I have with the Jets is, one, is the offense gonna run properly with Aaron Rodgers now? Two, which Aaron Rodgers are we getting? Because last year he was not great, but some could argue that was just because he didn't want to be there anymore. So, but otherwise, I mean, while the O-line didn't do well necessarily last year, they are a very good O-line. I think with time they'll be one of the better in the league. The defense was solid. They've got pretty good weapons on offense. I don't know. I think the only thing I can't think of is who their tight end is. But I mean, you've got Garrett Wilson. You've got Lazard coming in as well as Cobb. I don't remember if they got him or not. So it feels like a very reuniting the Packers on offense for the most part, minus Wilson. But I mean, as long as like Breece Hall stays healthy, whoever they're going to end up having in front of him while he's still recovering or behind him once he's back, I mean, they've got a solid running back room. That said, they're in one of the toughest divisions in football right now, so I think they're either going to they have a chance to be good, but I think they're probably going to fall closer to the 500 mark in the end, while that team still kind of gets together as a unit. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for a tight end to talk about, it's Tyler Conklin, who I don't necessarily think is
No.
the
That
best.
name's he was with the Rams.
He's just okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the offensive line, you brought that up. That was a unit kind of like struggle at times right now. They just lost Mekhi Becton again is he out the whole season again?
I forgot about that. Yeah, they did.
It's just like one snap into the preseason, he's gone. That guy can't stay healthy.
Huge piece of their offensive line too.
I also like how Zufio said it's just it's the New York Packers with the defense.
Oh yeah, that defense. Oh boy.
It's the New Jersey Packers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Across the river.
They had like
So sorry.
yeah, that defense, by the way, in 2022 against top 10 offenses, something to get excited for if you're old school and love this kind of stuff. Against the top 10 offenses in the league that they faced, they were number 1 in yards per play allowed, number 1 in EPA per dropback allowed, number 2 in EPA per snap allowed, number 2 in success rate allowed, number 2 in yards per attempt allowed.
Yeah.
And they beat it up even more.
They did.
God damn. Sauce Gardner in the back, as well as a very strong defensive line. Holy hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they were 7-10 last year, not any worse than that.
Oh yeah, that defense kept that terrible offense. Oh god.
The main reason they weren't better was just because the offensive line was banged up and they didn't have a great quarterback room.
I mean, that said, like, what do we all feel about like Aaron Rodgers and what can he do for this team? Johnny?
Mid. Absolute mid. People.
I'm with that one.
This is not even like I hate the guy as a person. I do. I think he's a garbage person. I think he brings nothing new to this offense, but I mean, again, he's a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. But I think the way you got him there is just because, like, we're going to contend. We're going to be championship contenders. The harsh reality is, and sorry, New York fans, I think your time has come and gone with a lot of championships. I don't see you guys ever winning one again for quite a bit of time. And I'll be honest, I see the Giants winning a championship for you guys.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, personally, even if it's last year's version of Aaron Rodgers, it is a major upgrade over Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is by far the worst quarterback for the last 2 years. He ranked dead last in completion percentage in 2021 and 2022. He was extremely inaccurate, and somehow Garrett Wilson was able to do something like leading the team with 35 targets at over 15 yards, even though 16 were deemed catchable. That dude, with a quarterback who's just okay, will help bring the offense to maybe just okay levels. We've seen what Justin Jefferson could do with a mid-tier quarterback.
That's Google Meets. I have no idea how to control that volume. I'll be honest, Lane. I'm also just kind of here for the sake of you guys can see me draw. I'll be honest and just hang out. They're just gonna be talking about.
Right, we have less than a minute, but yeah, like I just have the idea of like even if with this, this whole division is probably getting up with top 10 defenses. But yeah, this team, that defense, if it has just an okay offense, it's still going to be a struggle in this conference. But there's a chance that there is a chance that the Jets, who have won the AFC East as many times as the Oilers, might actually be a playoff team. Again, they got some maybes and it's all about Rodgers.
And also, like a lot of that one, even if he does play well, it's like a lot of that depends on one, the Dolphins, and two, the rest of the AFC is just so stacked, minus the South.
All right, that's time, by the way. Next up, we get to go ahead and move a little bit to the Northeast as we handle the New England Patriots. Marv, take it away.
They're just so boring. There's not a lot to say about the Patriots other than how boring they are. I was looking at their schedule from last year. They wrapped up the season with 7 straight losses. And I was like, okay, so they have no momentum. That's fine. It happens. Then I was looking at their rosters, and I was like, okay, QB Mac Jones. Nothing really to say there. He's not that great. I was looking at the running backs. They have a couple good running backs. Okay. I was looking at the wide receivers. They don't have anything really on the wide receiver line either. They have Hunter Henry at tight end. That's fun. That's something. But I know for wide receivers, Juju will be interesting. Devontae Parker will still get some work in there. And of course, Ramondre Stevenson is running back. And now they've added in Ezekiel Elliott, reported today. So they have okay people in each position, but they're just not interesting to me. They're really not interesting to me. The most interesting thing today when I was doing some of my research was I saw that one of the players that they cut when they made some moves very recently, I had a class with in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he got cut today. I was like, oh, all right. Well, there goes that. But yeah, actually, it's really funny. I had a class with him. I had a group project with him in college for an IT class. And we had to talk to the professor about the fact that he didn't do any of the work on the project. So he didn't get any credit for the projects.
Absolutely incredible.
But he did well enough for himself, at least so far. But not
Yeah.
keep getting cut from teams.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't make it.
Yeah.
For the... Oh, sorry. Were you done, Marv?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, for the Patriots, I do also have to point out that they have a pretty tough start to the season. They're facing the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, Cowboys, Saints at the start of things. All of these are teams expected to have top 15 defenses, and like 3 or 4 of them also having like top 10 offenses, maybe. It's like, what the fuck? They're thrown into the fire.
I'm ready to see them take a lot of injuries in those first couple weeks as well. I can see that happening and just completely tanking the season.
Oh, and then the other thing that's kind of was driving me crazy when I saw it happen, because I remember seeing YouTube videos about it, was Jack Jones and that whole situation. Just,
Oh.
what the fuck? And then he gets dismissed from practice. Like, that usually doesn't happen with the Patriots unless you're getting kicked out of the team. So it's just like that's a whole mess to contend with off the sidelines.
Yeah, but this team as well, listen, they actually have an offensive coordinator this time instead of a DC who's fumbling his way through. At the same time, I don't know if this offensive line is all that trustworthy either. It just looks, There's not really there's not really anyone that seems to be good there. Hunter Henry, the whole skill position talent. Even if Mac Jones really is just another Kirk Cousins or whatever it could be.
That's bold.
I know. Mac Jones has no athleticism. He has a weak arm for an NFL QB. He has no good skill. He has no great skill position around him that can help elevate him. Unless Booty goes into that top 10 pick form that people expected him to be before the end of last college season.
I would be very surprised if the Patriots did anything remarkable this year. They could still have, a 500 season. They can still maybe get above 500, but I can't even see them making a wild card spot this year.
I view this team as the most basic of sandwiches: ham, cheese, bread. It's they're not going to be good. Mac Jones is not a good NFL quarterback. Even with the best coach in football history, it's just like they're not going to be talented. And I hate to say this, but you just signed probably one of the most washed running backs the last decade.
I don't know who that could be. But
Oh, don't forget, they
Moncheck?
also
Moncheck?
re-signed possibly the worst wide receiver and gave him an extension. Devontae Parker, who has no separation abilities. He has ranked last in that category in all 4 seasons he's played.
just so disappointing because he was so good with Miami.
How much time do
was
we
a-
have left?
Huh?
How much time do we have left? Just 'cause
We're
I don't
actually getting close to being done with this one. But also, hey, what happens if Bill Belichick doesn't beat that 9 wins he needs to beat Don Shula's record?
That's
Oh no.
I will say this. It's all Ezekiel Elliott's fault, by the way, for the way NFL contracts are being given to running backs now. By the way,
Oh no.
Yeah,
Let's
he's part of it.
address it properly. It's not Ezekiel Elliott's fault. It's Jerry Jones.
if you're
It's
gonna
all-
regress that fast, I feel like you shouldn't have asked for a beefy contract
Yeah,
early on in
that's
your
fair.
career.
Alright,
But yeah, this team's getting last for sure in that division.
very likely. Up next now, we're gonna go to the sunny beaches down south as we head over to Miami with the Dolphins. Middling, that's right. Middling, mediocre, pretender. Also, they're missing Marino. These are some of the ways to describe the Dolphins over the years, as through most of the century, they spent a lot of time speeding downhill into the pits of obscurity, just to rise one season with a winning record and then plummet back to the depths below. The last 20 seasons, the Dolphins have 6 seasons above 500 and a large plethora of losing seasons between them. The team has not won a playoff game since 2000 and spent most of its time after a good season with multiple years in a row as a laughingstock. That is until Tua Tagovailoa took the reins as the starter. Dolphins have had 2 winning records in a row with him named the starter, and a third one added on when he was a rookie and got made the starter halfway through. Last season also looked like this could have been the team's best season since Marino was behind center, where they actually had a good chance to win the division partway through, until the concussions happened, one of which should have been fucking called during the game. The Dolphins then turned to Teddy Bridgewater, who got injured almost immediately himself. Then they had to turn to Skylar Thompson, who was what you expect from a third-string QB. To his healthy, we saw an amazing combination of the Shanahan-style offense centered on racking up yards after catch with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill as elite speedsters and separators. The team was so many explosive plays in a row that continuously torched off defenses that were trying to catch up to the Flash manifested as a team. And we also saw Tua go from being a quarterback who had to struggle to throw into tight windows because of how the team was last at wide receivers who ranked last in yards, like separated, being actually middle of the line in the category. So everyone a lot more open, easier targets, rhythm based, so you know where to go. We got to see what Tua could actually be. Unfortunately, we also saw that Tua might not be reliable. Not honestly all in his faults. Like the concussions, that's not on him, but yeah, we just have durability questions about him and questions about some medical stuff on the team side as well. Now for the defense, it looked like they were going to have a great defensive backfield with Jalen Ramsey signing on. And then he got injured and it's not going to be back till December. As a whole, though, the defense should be much improved from last season with a Big Fangio style defense going on. He might not be the best head coach, but damn is he a good defensive coordinator. So yeah, like, if the team stays healthy, they can contend for the division. If not, back to mediocrity they go.
Yeah, Dolphins. It's gonna come down to injuries and then making sure everything meshes right. That's all it is. If they can do that, they will make it deep into the playoffs. I don't see a way they don't at that point.
Yeah, I think on top of like the injuries, it's just after like 3 concussions or whatever it was, is Tua gonna still be Tua?
I know.
And if not, that team is doomed from the start.
They're gonna be calling him Tua because he's gonna be seeing Tua of every player.
Yeah,
Proud of
honestly.
yourself for that one.
It's not bad. I've had worse.
Oh, God.
Tua already is in the history books one of the best left-handed quarterbacks in NFL history. Not because he's talented, it's because there's not many left-handed quarterbacks in history. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest mark he's probably ever going to leave in the NFL. I'm a big Tua fan. I'm a Tua believer, but he's been gifted a god-tier receiving core of every season. Every season he has these two, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They're going to average over 1,000 yards receiving
Oh.
easily. One's got speed, one's got breakaway talent, but I think you're going to look back at his stats and like, oh, wow, Tua's really good. Like, no, he had the fastest player in the NFL and one of the players that is going to probably one day get wide receiver one money is the biggest thing. But he's not very talented where it counts. I think they're going to rely heavily on him. I don't think he's going to perform as well. But this is even before injuries is the biggest thing. The injuries suck. The concussions are terrible. I don't think he should be playing football. Biggest thing. Two concussions in the same season, you should probably consider going back to college and just becoming an analyst. It's easy money. Tebow does it. That's another Florida guy. He couldn't succeed anywhere. But yeah, in the defense, it's okay. It wasn't great. Jalen Ramsey's not going to immediately make it better. He's barely even a top 10 corner in the league now. So yeah, that's all I can add to it.
I guess another thing to worry about is the offensive line, which didn't really add anyone and was already not good. They ranked 24th in pass block win rate according to ESPN. So yeah, they need to be better. They need to be better.
Yeah,
Another concussion on the way.
they need to be better, honestly.
God, yeah, for Tua's sake especially.
Yeah. Like, we also saw for defenses, the best way to handle Tua was just shake things up, screw up with his rhythm, because he got way too comfortable with that and started to not process things on the field even before the injuries. Which caused, like, some bad plays.
Yeah. I don't think he can perform under pressure. It's the biggest thing.
Alright, well, that's it for Miami. Time to go back to the cold tundra up north, over by Niagara Falls, as we head over to Buffalo for the Bills.
Hold on, let me get the right mindset of this. The Bills are good. The Bills are very talented. This division is going to run through them for the next 6 or so years, depending on if Josh Allen opts into the rest of his contract. They have signed a few players in the offseason, but I think the biggest issues the Bills have had is you have not signed a good running back since LaShawn McCoy, and before that, maybe Fred Taylor. You finally have a career quarterback that is probably the best you've seen since I'm blanking on his name, the backup for Tom Brady. I'm blanking on his name. But yeah, what is his name?
Drew Bledsoe?
Drew Bledsoe. Yeah, you haven't seen a quarterback as good since Drew Bledsoe. And the only reason he played good in Buffalo is because he was mad at New England for letting him go. But probably the best move that team is ever going to make. The defense is fine. You keep signing people who are going to make your defense better. I think you had a chance. I think this previous year, was your golden ticket. But one snowy day in Buffalo, by the way, ruined everything. I can see them keep winning the division, but the Chiefs still exist and the Bengals still exist. I don't see them ever getting over that hump.
I will say, as much as it felt like people were talking about how the Bills' offense was suffering last season, wasn't as good, they were actually the second best at early down success rate, which means they were the second best at converting first and second downs into either a new set of downs or a touchdown. And with the red zones performance there, it actually improved after Josh Allen's UCL injury. They were they were a lot more efficient. This was a team that was only behind Kansas City when it comes to offensive efficiency. And like the running backs, as much as it's maligned like that, they don't get a top tier one. They were still performing well despite the lack of talent. They were averaging like when it comes to first downs in the first 3 quarters, 5.8 yards per carry. And while seeing like the light boxes at the second most amounts in the NFL at 41%, so not a lot to tackle against. They also have like the best yards per carry before contact in the league at 2.9 yards per carry. So it's like, I don't know, maybe this team just works. Maybe they somehow found a way.
You guys have anything to add?
I mean, most of the points were already hit on, but I think also add on just it's a thing of, I think it was also mentioned, but getting there and finally getting past it, because Josh Allen just has shown that he can't yet. Other than that, I mean, yeah, they're gonna win the division for a while. They're gonna be very good for quite a while. They're just not gonna be good enough when it matters.
Yeah, I again have to agree.
Marv?
That's all I got.
Okay. Oh, we got a couple more minutes, so I guess talk about some other things. They have like the 5th easiest expected first 8 weeks of the season, but the most difficult expected close for the weeks after, especially from weeks 11 on. 4 of their final 6 games, by the way, are on the road against the Chiefs and the Bengals. Oh, including the Chiefs and the Bengals. So they might get to a hot start. It's that brutal end to things where they need the most that might wear away at them.
They need to get to a point where they can throw away those games and play their second strings.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I do like their defense still also. Man, they're gonna be, like I said before, this division might have all 4 teams in the top 10 for defense. Like they don't have, I guess you can say they don't necessarily have all-star talents with Von Miller up in age.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess Matt Milano counts. Yeah, Matt Milano's one of the best linebackers in the league. He's a linebacker, though, so how much he actually impacts the game depends on things. Solid DB room, just... Yeah, like, it's already been brought up. This team should be able to win the division. And, like, they show they can go toe-to-toe against the Chiefs and the Bengals. The issue is that last, like, bit there to get over the hump that you all mentioned.
Would you say possibly that last 13 seconds?
Yeah. God. What a game that was.
Oh god, yeah. That was I don't know how you collapsed that horribly that fast.
Well, I mean, you can ask the Chargers.
Oh, we'll get to that. But I think some of my question marks are, it's like they've got a good wide receiver room, but it's Stephon Diggs and then just like a bunch of various other wide receivers that are kind of, they're good, but you know, you're obviously going to focus everything on to Diggs because he's miles above everything else that they have. And then the tight end, are they going to stick with, I mean, they're obviously going to stick with Kincaid for a while, but it's what they're going to do with Dawson Knox on that end.
That'll be time for this, by the way, as we move from the AFC East to the AFC North. How about them Browns? The heart and soul of Northeast Ohio, the original dynasty team in the days before the Super Bowl, the Cleveland Browns have had a legacy as a joke since returning to the NFL. A list of quarterbacks stretching past what can fit on the back of a jersey rotated in and out of the team as they met some of the lowest lows the league has ever seen, including one of the winningless seasons. With all the troubles this team has seen on and off the field, why is it that they have been talked about as a dark horse to win it all? What glimmer, what gleam is to be found in a team that has been on the downturn since the drive and the fumble? Let's get the roster, which is filled with talent from the best running back in the league in Nick Chubb to potential defensive player of the year Myles Garrett on the edge. A Watson with the rust shaken off mixed with a scheme from Stefanski that was already shown in the preseason. It is ready to evolve to make the most of an attack to all corners of the field. A selection of pass catchers that fills all roles from the exceptional route runner Amari Cooper to big man rookie Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, who will excel in the slots with a quarterback who can actually throw who might be able to throw more accurately. And David Njoku, who made a giant leap as tight end last season. This is an offensive line that is still top 3 in the league, and it's going to stay that way so long as Bill Callahan is there. And to reiterate, Nick Chubb is the best running back in the league. This guy has averaged at least 5.0 yards per carry in all 5 of his seasons. To the defense, we have a much better coordinator taking the reins in the proven Jim Schwartz, who gets to play with a vastly improved defensive line. Already talked about how many NASCAR packages he wants to throw on third down. The line is no longer Myles Garrett being doubled and triple teamed as CFL and XFL players get bullied around him. This is a unit beefed up with Za'Darius Smith and Agbonia Okoronkwo joining on the edge. 2 players who, like Myles, ranked top 10 in pressure rate versus double team rate, and were also top 50 in pass rush win rate. Myles was 3rd. Let's also not forget them adding Dalvin Tomlinson and recently Shelby Harris at defensive tackle to make the front as intimidating as any in the league. The DBs will likely appreciate the simplified scheme as well, as the overly complicated and messy scheme of last season caused a lot of confusion that led to big holes for teams to target. Now to think about how this things go wrong for them, not that difficult. Watson, maybe last year, is just what he is now. Maybe the offense doesn't take those steps that they hope to. Maybe injuries destroyed this team, or maybe the defense doesn't actually fix any holes. Or maybe it just comes down to some simple, dumb bullshit luck like kicks and fumbles. This team has the most expensive offense in the league, and will need to act like it, or they will just be the same old Browns. Who wants to take it away from here?
Unlike the quarterback, I'm not going to put my hands on this team.
Oh boy.
Speaking of that quarterback, that's what it's going to come down to, because he did not look like his old self at all when he finally was able to come in the league, which was honestly way too soon. But and of course they had to bring him back for that match against the Texans. But just he looked abysmal last year compared to what everyone expected he should have been. But yeah, I think it's very easily a team that finishes last place in this division, considering I think everyone else probably makes the playoffs.
The Browns just another team you don't hear about. Nobody talks about the Browns or players on the Browns. I never hear about them.
I mean, it's just a tough team to talk about with the quarterback.
That's also
You
true.
always have to talk about that situation, and
Right.
no one really wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that running back room was also at a certain point a kicker. But
Shut up.
what?
Oh,
They keep signing monsters. What do you want me to talk about?
oh, don't worry. That person is apparently going to be might be joining the Colts instead this time.
It's an AFC North thing. From what I've seen.
But I mean, like for our offense, by all means, they had 12 games against top 15 pass defenses, 10 games against top 15 run defenses. Like their offense was always being put through the work. And like when Watson came back, he had 2 games in extreme weather. Jeez, this team, they had terrible fumble luck, terrible field goal luck, but that's just normal for them, to be honest. I don't know. In the league, it's always said that the quarterbacks are what wins, but the next big thing after that are the battles in the trenches, and this is a team that probably has top 3 lines on both sides of the league, on both sides of the field. And that's going to elevate them more, especially against Bengals who suck against natural pass rush. Oh, that's also overtime.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to go ahead and bring us out of Cleveland over across the river to Pittsburgh with the Steelers.
Oh boy, the
Take it away.
Steelers. Yeah. Honestly, there's not too much to say about this team because they're, for the most part, the same team they were last year, which is part of the problem. Is despite how good I think they're going to be, because I mean, you look at the team, they've got a solid wide receiver room, especially with Pickens, a blossoming quarterback with Kenny Pickett, who I think will probably take another step this year. One of the best running backs in the league in Najee Harris. The defense, it's Pittsburgh. It's always going to be good. That's just what Pittsburgh does. The issue comes down to what is in front of Kenny Pickett, because that line for so long, probably the past like 4 or 5 years, has been the biggest problem, and they just do not address it. And they really still haven't. I mean, they've added some pieces on the line this year, but like nothing big. So I mean, that's part of like what a lot of their downfall is. They don't protect Pickett well enough, and they don't protect Najee Harris well enough, and it's a lot to put on those two, because those two are doing pretty much everything other than like Pickens. But yeah, I mean, that said, I still think this team easily a wild card team, barring an absolute disaster of like injuries and such.
And Mike Tomlin we trust.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because Mike Tomlin's like never had a losing season, so I mean, it's just he needs to find a way to get his team back to where he's been able to, because he's won Super Bowls with this team. It's just he needs to do it again.
I think this is going to be another team where injuries come to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have confidence that everyone can stay healthy to the point where they'll be able to heavily compete.
For sure.
Like, I like Pickett myself. Thought that he showed some nice stuff last season, including like was it game winner against the Raiders, where he was on the move, like threw across his shoulder and had like a ball perfectly placed into the corner of an end zone. It's like that kind of stuff you love to see from a rookie. He also led the league with a 75% catchable deep ball rate and a 74% catchable under pressure rate. So he was able to attack places and attack them well. The offensive line, I'm glad they invested in that. I don't trust this offense with Matt Canada, though. I don't think they're going to be anything other than bland and boring, which is a death knell in the AFC.
I honestly think at the end of the day, I don't like giving them credit for anything. I think this is going to be the worst team in the entire division this next year.
Same.
I think they've made proper moves to get better. I just don't see them being any good. Rookie quarterback's pretty okay. Najee Harris is probably the highlight of the offense, but at the same time, check down plays of 3 to 5 yards don't win games. The defense still exists.
Yeah.
You really can't stop a Watt, I'll be honest. But I don't know. There's bright spots, but in this division where the Bengals can click on all cylinders immediately, the Ravens don't really have a stop in them unless Lamar gets hurt, and then a run game can win you 7 or 8 games for the Browns. So just like, I potentially see maybe, again, like Marv said, I potentially see like this being a season where a really severe injury may happen to the team, and it's just gonna like, it's time to fold the cards already. I just hope it doesn't happen early in the season where they've just become completely unwatchable throughout the year.
And like, I feel like most coaches would be able to just barely get this team with its roster to be like a 6 or 7 win team, but Tomlin will give them a push to make them an 8 or 9 win team instead. I don't have too many high hopes for this. This is a team still rebuilding and trying to retool itself.
Fair.
It puts me in a little bit of the minority because I as long as they stay healthy, at least, I think this team does extremely well. Not not well enough to get second or first in the division. I think the other two teams ahead of them will still be a lot better, but definitely double-digit wins. Again, health is where that one lies.
Double-digit wins.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
That's
realized
bold statement.
that
I will
is
say.
bold. Although I guess not too much, but the Steelers having the 3rd most wins in the AFC over the last 3 years. And the only other team without a losing season the last 10 years is Kansas City. So hey, they'll at least be rock solid, I guess.
Yep. I mean, even last year they had the best 3rd place record for division.
I'll probably be another year
So-
with that.
Exactly. It's just it's a tough division to be in, but they're
This-
holding up, but not enough for playoffs.
The AFC North is the best division. Everyone here could make the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Doesn't help that there's only 2 wildcard spots either.
All right, well, that's it
Is there?
for
There's
then.
3.
There's 3 wildcard.
Yeah, there's 3.
Yeah. there's
Oh, yeah. Well, still, like I don't.
There's not 4.
I know there's not
That's
4,
the
but
problem.
I could have swore that there was only 2.
All right. Well, let's go over to get some crabs as we make our way to Baltimore for the Ravens.
The other crabs.
Mix.
What a
right, Marv.
transition!
All right. The Ravens. Ravens might be one of my favorite AFC teams. Overall, I think they're always very competitive. They're always here to play. And I think they just need to be able to have that finishing power to really get through. I was looking through their games from last season. And they had a very good record. And they lost a lot of close games. There was they lost a game by 11 points, and then they lost a game by 10 points in the regular season. Their next highest loss was by 4 points in the regular season. Their first loss, they lost in the 4th quarter. Second one, they lost in the 4th quarter. Third one, they lost in the 4th quarter. The 4th loss, they lost in the 4th quarter. All but 2 of their losses were lost in the 4th quarter in the regular season. They really just need that finishing power, whatever it is. If they just don't have the endurance, if they just need to work the weight room a little harder, build the endurance, whatever it is, if they just need a little better play calling towards the end. I don't know if their defense is getting tired. I don't know what it is for them, but they just need that finishing power. I think that's the only thing they're really missing. They still have a strong QB in Lamar Jackson, a strong backup in Tyler Huntley. They have the running backs. They have J.K. Dobbins. They have Gus Edwards. Those 2 are really going to hold their own. They just need to support them better. And the wide receivers, Rashad Bateman was one of the best wide receiver additions in the past couple years. They have Odell now, which I don't know what they're going to do with him, but they have him. And then Devin Duvernay is a very good addition as well. So their offense is pretty, and they have Mark Andrews. He didn't have the season they wanted him to last year, but that's also because he's been sharing a lot of the work with Isaiah Likely in the tight end role. But that's been helping the team as a whole. And I really think they just need to finish. They have Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
He can win games. Let him win games for you. Just set him up 40 yards for a shot at the end of the game, even 50 yards.
60.
Yeah, and he'll drive it home and he'll give you that win. You just have to do your clock management. You got to set him up, and you can't get tired at the end of games.
Probably hit 70 if you ask me.
Probably, honestly.
Give him a kiss first.
I can't hate the Ravens. They're a team that, if you like football, you're going to enjoy the Ravens, is the biggest thing.
They're exciting. They're fun to watch.
They're exciting. They have one of the best mobile quarterbacks, of course, who time and time again has proven he can throw the ball. It's the biggest thing in the world. he needs a receiver. I don't know if Odell's going to be the thing, though. I don't know if Odell's going to be like the guy that's like, yeah, look, I have a receiver now. Odell is entering his 30s, and he's coming off a severe injury, and he sat out a year to which he could have probably played a little bit to prove he has worth. So it's going to be difficult to see if he's going to just come in and be like the old Odell. You don't know that.
I think he's there to pick up defenders, to maybe get double covered
Yeah,
and then
that's-
leave the other guys open.
That's what I was also thinking. Is like I think he's more there as like the way Randy Moss at the end of his career was. He was a deep threat. That was no real issue, but it's like he pulls defenders. He opens up the field for everyone else.
They did also draft a wide receiver, Zay Flowers, in the first round, so they've
Ooh.
actually been putting investments in that this time around, so it's not just practice squad members helping him.
About time.
No. But again, unless another injury happens to Lamar, I don't want it to. I can see them pushing for that division title. I don't see them getting it. I see them pushing for it. And I hope it's a down the stretch type of who takes the division instead of just Bengals by 3 games or Bengals by 2 games. I want to see like a last week need to win scenario. But who knows if we're actually going to get that.
On my end, I think my biggest issue with the team, and it's issue they've had for the past few years, is the running game is great when it's healthy, and it never is. They lose like their entire running back core,
Right.
like by week 5, and then it's all on Lamar, which then hurts the team, gives him more prone to injury, and they just need to stay healthy. That's all they need to do, because otherwise they're pretty much good around the team. They've added to the wide receiver core that was already mentioned. They've got one of the better tight ends in the league. They've got a solid line. The defense, again, is just like with Pittsburgh. It's what Baltimore does. It's just staying healthy. That's all what really comes out to it. I think genuinely for me, I think as long as they stay healthy, they do win that division. It'll be close, but I think they can take it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Lamar is a transcendent talent. I believe that, like, this is a better investment. I believe it was a great idea to get rid of Greg Roman because he was not evolving the offense. Things were stale. You hear about defenses calling exactly what the Ravens are going to do because everyone could figure it out. Yeah, Lamar needs to be able to stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to do that the last few seasons. The defense also, oddly enough, is my actual major concern because, hey, it's still good at BB room. That's where they're best at.
Yeah.
Their line is not good, especially on the edge. Where are they getting the pressure from? How are they actually going to make quarterbacks worried?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah,
There's no defensive play on the interior, so just like you have to ball hawk your way to turnovers instead of just stopping them on 4th down or 3rd down, forcing them to punt.
All right, that'll be it for Baltimore.
Oh,
All right,
this is-
we're gonna make another trip
Jeez.
over to Ohio as we head to the Cincinnati Zoo. Who wants to talk about the Bengals?
You want to know what's nice about the Bengals?
Nothing.
everything.
Okay, so I'm going to make this comparison once we go to the next division. Joe Burrow was quickly given up on after he got hurt. It was about the next big talent coming in, which was Trevor Lawrence, because Joe Burrow got hurt. Joe Burrow got hurt trying to take a team that was very, very bad and try to make them winners. And then they go out and they get probably the best wide receiver we've seen from LSU in the past year. You're not beating out Jefferson. I'm sorry. And they turned this team around completely. Did they lose some defensive people? Yeah, they did. But this team is offense first. This team is gunslinger first. This team is a hard-headed quarterback who wants to win because he got a taste of it in college, and he's like, I want more of this in the NFL. Do I think they're going to regress a little bit? Yes. Do I still think we're going to see Kansas City and Cincinnati in the AFC Championship? Yes. I think that's the actual rivalry, and Josh Allen is just kind of like the other guy in the scenario. Sorry, Josh. I love you, bud, but Joe Burrow's probably going to be better than you at the end of the day because you do put your heart into it. This man puts his heart, body, and soul into every single game. He can physically play. He got hurt in practice. He'll be back for week 1, and I think it's an easy take for the division this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is definitely so long as everyone's healthy, and this doesn't end up being the off year that is. I don't want to jinx things. Knock on wood. But yeah, like their offense 6 and early down success rate. Defense was 9th, so they're great at both sides. shilOMG probably going to be a head coach after the season.
I can see that.
Defensive
Yeah.
coordinator,
Yeah.
But yeah, this is also a team that is the only one in the division that has what's considered a rest disadvantage, which is to say that they have less days to prepare overall than their opponents do. But it's only by 1 day, but that can add up. All the stuff adds up. The Browns, by the way, are like top 10 in that. I don't know. This is just all about how far Joe Cool can bring them. Joe Sly, whatever nickname you want to give him. The dude's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. What, second best behind Mahomes?
Yeah. Well,
There could be cases for
I'll-
that.
I think
You know
Marv
what?
has a different idea.
no.
Believe it or
This is
not, I
just-
do.
This is a genuine thing. I'm with Marf on this. I think Jalen Hurts took that step. I think he's number 2. I'll be honest.
But that's not even gonna mention my number 2 because that it depends on the team, like how well it shows. And we'll talk about that team later.
There you go.
Yeah, like I already kind of like brought this up before at the end of the Browns, but something that really caught my eye was that this team is amazing against the blitz. They are able to shred any team that throws a blitz at them. And they're able to do this just because of the sheer talent in the passing game. They are loaded at wide receiver. And Joe Burrow, when he was at the offense during 2022, kind of like gave up trying to do schemes, trying to make things complicated and stuff. It was just relying more and more on like, Burrow, just go ahead, take the ball, throw wherever you want to, whenever you want to. That works best.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they adapt this year because other teams are going to start adapting to them.
Yeah.
Last
the
year
other-
was like a setup year, I would say, for them where they really found their stride. But now it's clearly documented what their stride is, and other teams aren't going to ignore that.
Yeah, the other part for that right against the blitz thing is that they suffered if a team was able to give natural pressure against them, which after I sort of explained why it is that things aren't always great when they have to go against Myles Garrett or TJ Watt, why the Browns always seem to have their number. It's just like, oh yeah, if you have a top tier edge against them or an otherwise top tier pass rush, the Bengals offense just kind of like goes, oh shit, what do we do actually? By the way, did anyone I don't pick up on this news too much? What's the deal with Mixon right now? I forget if he's suspended, out, or some other murky thing. He got into some legal trouble himself.
Was it not gambling?
I don't even remember what it was.
No, I think it was assault.
Oh,
Oh, I was hoping.
I forget
it
if
was
it's that or gambling. It's one of two for players this offseason.
too fair. If it was gambling, we would have heard about it because they would probably overreact about it.
Mm.
They did Ridley. So
We've got like 30 seconds left if anyone wants like to throw some stuff out.
No, I think we've covered most of everything.
yeah,
So, most likely to win their division and make it to the AFC championship, unless things make a downhill turn out of health.
yeah, I can see it.
All right. I guess that's enough of our time here with the AFC North, and we get to go out west now. Over to the Rocky Mountain High with the Denver Broncos. Marv, take it away.
You're going to see a lot more of the same this year than you saw last year, I think, from the Broncos. Losing a lot. They have 3 OT losses, which is brutal. But I don't think they have what it takes. Like I was saying before about how for For the Ravens, like they weren't losing by a lot. Well, for the Broncos, they weren't winning by a lot. They only had one game that they won more than 4 points. Their best win was by 9 points. Their second best was by 4 points. Or no, 7. But regardless, like they aren't winning by a lot when they're winning, and they're losing a lot, and they're losing brutally in OT. It's just between that and looking at their player court, they have Russell Wilson as their QB. He's not doing anything anymore. He doesn't have it. It's not there. And then they have like 1 or 2 stars at the other positions. They have Javonte Williams, who is, I can't really even call him a star per se, I don't think, but he's probably what they got there. And then the wide receiver core, they got Jerry Jeudy. That'll be great for them. You know, Cortland Sutton, a couple big names there.
They just lost another Tim Patrick to injury again.
Of course they did. I didn't even know about that, so there you go, even further. And they have a tight end who's one of the better tight ends, but there's not a lot of big name tight ends. So I want them to do well. You know, I feel like they could do well, but in my head, they're working towards a rebuild, and they're not even starting it yet. So
Yeah.
they're under the 8 ball, and they're not gonna get out from under it this year.
It was an interesting choice to go after Sean Payton, I'll say,
Yeah.
because I understand he's trying to turn this team around like he did the Saints. I think insulting a lot of teams and the dynamics like your certain team is doing is not a smart move. You win and lose locker rooms like that. If they're winning, they're gonna be fine. If they're losing, this relationship already is not gonna work.
Broncos is gonna be spicy.
Russ is not Russ anymore. I don't know if it was the transition to Denver or it was the offensive line, but he's not making plays anymore. As someone who drafted him hoping he would make plays last year in fantasy football, and he was statistically one of the worst quarterbacks. I'm not saying this is it for him. I think he could probably find a backup spot on another team, but if he continues to play like this, there's no reason for him to have a starting job anymore.
Some metrics, by the way, to talk about for Wilson. Out of 47 qualifying QBs, he was 30th in passing without pressure, 30th in passing under pressure, 29th from the pocket, 38th outside the pocket, 27th on early downs without play action, 29th on first downs in the first 3 quarters, and 31st on passes under 2.5 seconds, while facing the third easiest passing schedule of passing defenses. Yeah, so
He's done.
For me, well, what's weirdly enough, it's a weird problem to have, but I think for me, his problem, because otherwise the team looks great besides him. The transition to Denver, for me, I think is what did it, because he actually has an offensive line there, and most of his best work when he was in Seattle was done when he was on the run, and he had to just make plays as he went. Whereas now he has all the time in the world, and I just doesn't really know what to do with it.
I guess
It's a weird problem to have.
I don't know. Russell Wilson question is a big thing for this team. The defense is fine. It'll do fine. They were amazing. They did their job. I mean, it's a new DC by all means, but Vance Joseph is a much better defense coordinator than head coach. So while not the same highs as the defense had, should still be good enough. Yeah, this is I can't
Very
get out of
theoretically.
Russ.
Their ceiling for sure is either just a repeat of last year or, by some miracle, 3rd place.
I mean, they'll probably have a good start to things. Denver is 35-4 in home games the first 2 weeks of the season since 1990, which is the best such record in the league.
Mhm.
And they have, I forget if it's one or both of their season opener games are going to be at home. So, hey, they'll have likely one win.
I mean, hey, if they want to just somehow squeeze in and reschedule the Cowboys to be in there, fucking always beat us somehow.
God.
Oh. Hopefully health luck is better for this team as well. They were devastated.
Oh yeah, it's already started.
Yeah, Tim Patrick. But I guess another thing that positive. I don't know how well this will actually go for them. Since 2000, there have been 27 instances where a team like Denver went under their win total by at least 5 games. The Vegas win total, that is. All 27 increased their number of wins next season with a median improvement of 4 wins. And 56% of those teams went over their over-under win total. And the Broncos have one of 8.5 right now. So, hey.
That feels high.
Yeah, that does feel high.
8.5?
Hey,
I would have.
Hey,
I would think this.
That feels way too high.
Can I do a quick breaking?
Yes.
Free agent Dalvin Cook is planning to sign a 1-year contract worth up to $8.6 million with the New York Jets.
Okay, that was expected.
God damn it.
I don't know why they did that. Brees Hall is good enough for them.
It really is.
That's... God, they're really trying to just make a paper mache team this year, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's just
Yeah.
what every team that wants to push for contention does, I guess. Well, that's
It's
enough of
patchwork
the.
and weak.
Yeah, that's enough of the Jets and enough of the Broncos. Oh, yeah, we're gonna have to move to the desert now. Speaking of Vegas, time for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Sell the team.
I will start on a positive note for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have a really good skill position group, one of the best in the league. Devontae Adams is an amazing wide receiver and should still be known as a top 3 player in that position. Josh Jacobs is a really good running back, and coming off the season where he was the rushing yards leader shows how high his ceiling is. I also really like Max Crosby at the edge. Like, he's really good and can help any defense. And that's for the positives end. This is a team going from mediocre and unwatchable when they had the 4th toughest schedule in the league to potentially disastrous, going against the 2nd toughest expected schedule according to Vegas. Only behind the Patriots. They are favored in 2 games and underdogs in another 10, and will have their start of the season be at Broncos, at Bills, hosting Steelers, at Chargers, hosting Packers, and hosting Patriots. All teams expected to field top 15 defenses and or top 10 offenses. They're going from Derek Carr to Jimmy G as their starting quarterback, which is like going from a Toyota Corolla to a Pinto, in which you move from a reliable while not exceptional player to one that seemed flashy over by the bay, but will lead to disastrous results the moment he feels contact. We are expected to act like Brian Hoyer isn't going to be having to fill in for Jimmy at any point, and that Josh McDaniels is the same level of wonderkind as Kyle Shanahan. I like the additions of Austin Hooper and the project that tied in with 2nd round pick Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. When it comes to tight ends, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, really nice to have a wide receiver. But again, whoever is passing the ball, stay upright enough to throw to them with this offensive line, though. Except for Crosby, who on the defense can do anything to be imposing to offenses? I wrote that before some recent additions, but it still kind of like rings true. This is a crowd filled mostly with journeymen and rookies and otherwise questionable talent that will feel trial by fire so often in a division with Mahomes. This is a team whose supposed offensive genius at head coach can't figure out how to run an offense. The Raiders managed to rank top 10 in the first half of games in EPA per drive, points per drive, touchdowns per drive, and yards per drive. Problem is, they ranked bottom half in all of these in the second half, which certainly helped opponents catch up, if not take or hold a lead. McDaniels also proved incapable of changing his style to try to be more effective, sticking to 11 personnel on 63% of plays, despite a lot of evidence. The team worked better from 12 personnel by a substantial amount. Jimmy G, by the way, is bad in 11 personnel and much better in 12 personnel, which is what Shanahan also likes to do. Yes, the team went 4-9 in one-score games and had a -8 turnover margin, which should both regress in the Raiders' favor, as should their health and field goal luck. At the same time, the Raiders had gone 1-4 in games they led by double digits at halftime, while the rest of the NFL had gone 84-9 in this category. The Raiders lost 5 games where they led by 7 or more points at halftime, most in NFL history. The Raiders won 3-4 in games they led by 13 or more points, which is the most such losses in NFL history. I don't have a lot of faith this team comes even close to their projected win total of 7.5 games. I think this is a team that's going to be spending more time looking at Caleb Williams and Drake May while they have their head coach fired by Thanksgiving. So yeah, that's enough of my rant.
It doesn't help that Josh Jacobs, who is one of the more inspiring running back talents, is probably going to sit out and not actually play.
Yeah.
They're not going to give him a contract, especially with the team is going. it also doesn't help that Jimmy G in the offseason was hurt, had surgery, and they could have, if he wasn't going to report to camp, just cut his contract entirely. That already shows the motivation they had for him to be their starting quarterback if they could just cut ties with him immediately.
Mhm.
I think Vegas needs to keep this team for a bit and then consider moving them back to Oakland.
Never should have left.
I can see the Raiders having the worst NFL record this year.
I think maybe top 5 worst. I don't know about the worst because there's the team we'll talk about next week that I think is number 1 for the worst. But yeah, they'll be pretty close for sure, undoubtedly.
Okay, we got a minute and a half still.
More talking about the Raiders though. Who wants to do
I know.
that?
I mean,
yeah, I mean,
maybe Derek Carr can make something of it in New Orleans. He was. I honestly never saw Derek Carr as the issue. Was the biggest.
Yeah, it wasn't
No,
the
absolutely
problem by all means. He just
No.
wasn't just wasn't elevated them. Was all.
I also don't think it ever helped his play when it was like, oh, Tom Brady's available, we should probably go get him, or
Yeah.
oh, Aaron Rodgers available, let's go get him. And I'm just like, that's not gonna fix the defensive issues, guys, or the offensive issues. And now Devontae's like, Jimmy G is throwing me the ball. I came here for a quarterback, and he's now in New Orleans. So it's shitty all around, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, this is somehow McDaniels is. I mean, McDaniels is going to go back to New England next season, and then just get another head coach opportunity in a few years because I guess that's just how it works. Or people are going to be like, okay, actually, he's bad without Tom Brady. Never mind.
Yeah, I could see that.
Oh boy. Yeah, at least he didn't skip on the Raiders the same way he did with the Colts. Although that worked out for Indianapolis for a little bit. All right, that's enough of the Raiders, though. Let's go ahead to a more fun and exciting team back at California. As we go ahead and handle...
No, we're covering the Rams?
No,
We
the
said exciting.
stadium. San Diego, I mean
Oh.
Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, we're covering the 49ers?
Tyler?
No, I'll hate myself for that next week. Don't worry about that. But no, the Chargers, which is a fantastic, exciting team, one of the best on paper. I say on paper because their issue is they're another team that I'm having to talk with that just cannot stay healthy. And it's seen by the fact that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, there you go, they're their top 2 receivers, almost never on the field together, which is insane to say. But they did, they went out and got Kellen Moore, which is honestly an improvement for their offensive coordinator. I will say don't know if I'm the biggest fan of that move though, because from personal experience, he can be a bit predictable with the play calling. And they definitely don't need that on their shoulders with all the other issues they've got. On top of the fact that, for the love of God, their finishing ability is it rivals the Falcons. And I'm sorry for saying that, Johnny.
We're a shithole. So it's fine.
No, because you go into the playoff game with a game you should not only were looking to win easily, but should have won easily. And I saw this from my friend who is a Chargers fan. The moment that the Jaguars scored right before halftime, he already knew it was over. They'd lost the game. And just like in typical Charger fashion, they did now set a league record for biggest, deficit to then lose. But other than that, I mean, there's
who's
nothing.
the joke now, huh?
There's nothing really bad to say about this team because the offense is fantastic. The line could use some work. It's not the best, but it's serviceable. But definitely better when healthy because I mean, there's I'm forgetting
they were
his
wrecked
name.
by injuries last season.
Yeah, like one of the tackles, I think it's like Storm, whatever, as a backup serviceable, not great. They do have one of the best linemen in the league, though. Why am I blanking on his name right now?
Khalil
just-
Mack or Joey Bosa. Oh, you're talking about offensive line.
offensive
Rashawn
line, yeah.
Slater?
Slater, thank you. He's second to, if not better than Sewell out of that draft class. The defense, as long as they can say solid is healthy, we'll see how J.C. Jackson does. I don't know if I'm fully sold on that. And then my highlight, my boy, Justin Herbert, one of the best. As long as he had injury issues last year, so that's where that came in. But one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think he'll continue to take steps further as long as he's able to stay on the field, because it is so fun to watch him play. As like, if anyone who saw the that Raiders game at the end of the season, I think it was 2 years ago now, where they lost and didn't make the playoffs. It's just they would always get to fourth down, but Herbert would always find a way to get them out of it and just keep the game going. It's just, and then they have kicking issues like every year somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a team that easily could be, if everything goes right for them and they stay healthy, could be the #1 seed going into the playoffs. But the issue is, do they charger it? Do they stay healthy?
I myself also am a big Herbert fan. Like, he is one of the best deep passers in the league. He is exceptional when he's given the opportunity. And thank God he has Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator instead of Joe Lombardi. Sorry, Denver.
Oh.
Kellen Moore, who McCarthy and Dallas admitted to limiting a lot because Kellen Moore wanted to pass the ball even more and do even more crazy stuff. With Lombardi, Herbert was averaging 6.42 air yards per attempt in 2022, which is the lowest depth in the league. Whereas Prescott with Moore was able to throw like almost 2 yards on average more. It's just like, oh god, just imagine Herbert being able to air it out finally. Especially with an addition at wide receiver with Quentin Johnston. Oh man, that offense should actually be fun.
I'm gonna let Marv go. If you don't have anything, I'll go in a little bit.
I'll just say that I do also really like the Chargers. They're another very, very fun team to watch, and I like taking a lot of the players for fantasy purposes because they perform very well.
Good for Eckler to get that deal as shitty as it is.
San Diego, I'm calling them San Diego. They're not going to be Los Angeles to me. You're never going to be Los Angeles.
Neither team in Los Angeles is Los Angeles.
You're the 619 until I die. Herbert has the possibility of going down as the second best Chargers quarterback in NFL history. And if you know the NFL history of Chargers quarterbacks, I think he's just going to play exactly like the best Chargers quarterback in NFL history. I think he's going to reach the highest of heights. I don't think he's ever going to win an MVP. He'll win one Super Bowl, and he's going to perform exactly like Drew Brees. He'll exist. He'll be the most talented quarterback, but he won't get the recognition for it because there's always going to be a Brady or a Mahomes now, or someone like Peyton Manning, a Jalen Hurts. They're not the same, but there's always going to be better quarterbacks. Is the biggest thing. I think you get one. I think quarterbacks like him always get one. Be it the football gods, be it the actual talent. But I think the defense has always had that up and down. It's like, oh, we're good, but then like someone gets hurt on offense, so it cuts the momentum short. Or the defense is rolling, and then like, someone gets hurt. The wide receiver room has been able to kind of stay healthy. Keenan Allen's been a big issue. He's supposed to be sort of your number one, but you have Mike Williams now. Keenan Allen's been like dealing with injuries the past few years. I think if they stay healthy, Mike Williams is a deep threat. Austin Eckler is an absolute unit in the passing and running game. You have all the pieces, but you're not the best team in the division. And for a long time, you're going to finish in second place unless something big happens.
Always the
Speaking of-
bridesmaid.
Time to move on to the team I think you're talking about, and you get to lead in on Kansas
Oh.
City Chiefs.
Oh, you mean like the belt holder, the winner of 2 Super Bowls already, and you've been in the league for 7 years, and you got probably one of the biggest contract extensions in NFL history at the time, and you're just kind of walking over players like they're nothing because you are the absolute best quarterback I have probably seen in my lifetime. You watch a lot of mediocre Falcons quarterbacks as well. It doesn't help either. Patrick Mahomes, I think at the end of the day, if he can play the way he's playing for 10 years, because he's 27 now, probably wraps up before he's 40. I don't see him being a talent that pushes it into his 40s. That's not smart. I think statistically he's going to be top 3 in a lot of places. The issue with this team was supposed to be the receiving core last year. That was the biggest thing. You lost your golden goose, where you can just like, oh, Tyreek's out there somewhere, 60-yard gain. Travis Kelce picked that up in stride this year. Just you're like, oh, fine, I'll do it myself, and he did. The running back room is something that's going to struggle a little bit because they haven't had a running back game in a long time. I miss Jamal Charles. I think if he was around for this team, it would be over for everyone. But the defense could be the best in the league, or the defense could be the worst in the league. You still have to, as the other offense, put up 35 points because this team doesn't stop winning. He doesn't stop throwing the ball perfectly. And I think Andy Reid, at the end of the day, is going to make a push, but he's not going to do it for the best coach in NFL history, because with Mahomes, he's a winner. Without Mahomes, he's been a winner. You can't stop Reid after a bye week. You can't stop Reid in the playoffs. He just finds a way to make the machine go, and they reach the Super Bowl. And this is something I hope, truly, I hope we get a repeat of last year's Super Bowl. I want to see them go against the Eagles again. Either way it goes, it's to the best quarterbacks in the league slugging it out. I want to see it because they're the 2 most talented quarterbacks in the league, and I think you need to show them on the biggest stage.
All right. To let you know, to give a reminder about how much the doom and gloom was about Hill leaving was nonsense, and how much nonsense was to say too high defense was the way to go against Mahomes. Passing attack ranked number 1 versus man, and number 1 versus zone, number 1 versus too high, number 1 versus non-too high, number 1 versus the blitz, number 1 versus no blitz, number 1 when throwing under 10 air yards, number 1 when throwing over 10 air yards, number 2 when throwing in less than 3 seconds, number 1 when throwing in more than 3 seconds, number 1 in early downs, number 1 on third downs, number 1 inside and outside the pocket, number 1 with and without play action, number 1 when clean, number 2 when pressured, number 1 when targeting wide receivers, number 1 when targeting everyone else, number 1 in first and second halves. What the fuck?
Reid reads defenses. That's what he does.
You're telling me that these guys are kind of good, right?
It is. Is he? I don't know if he's still the offensive coordinator. Eric.
Eric Bieniemy is the
I think
OC
he's still
for
is,
Washington now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was ridiculous that he didn't get coaching jobs beforehand, but it's also one of those things where I think teams are cautious because, like, is it just Mahomes? And is it just Mahomes and Reid? Is he actually contributing?
Yeah.
I think he did contribute a lot. I'm happy he's got a coaching job. It's just probably with the worst team he could have gone to be honest.
Yeah, I want to bring up another Mahomes nugget too. As starter in 80 games, the Chiefs have only lost 2 games by more than 1 score, which is the best rate in NFL history. Mahomes will always keep them in games too, even when his average depth targets this last season was at its lowest. Like, this team wasn't doing the explosive plays anymore. Efficiency. My God. My God.
That could be 13 seconds on the clock and it's be fine. Sorry,
Yes,
bring
for
that one up.
2-minute players, he's a 2-second player.
God, he really is.
He is a quarterback made in a lab who's just getting better. What hope do teams have against him?
12 quarterbacks, baby.
The fact that he set the career record for career passer rating on 1,500 attempts, career playoff passer rating, career passing yards per game, total yards by a quarterback in a season, and then passing touchdowns in a single postseason, and you kind of just like you're probably gonna get better. And you're probably gonna keep breaking your own records. It's insane.
I guess the biggest issue, we're not worrying about defense on this team. That defense is actually just fine. It's not terrible. It's good enough. But yeah, the biggest issue is
it's a team that just the defense just needs to be okay. Is the biggest thing in the world. You don't have to put a lot of money into this defense. It's like, get us a few stops, then we'll do the rest. Is the biggest thing. Later in his career, you're gonna have to build up that defense a bit. But for right now, when he's like 27, 28, he's fine.
They had one of the worst defenses in the league, and they still ended up winning a Super Bowl a few years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they do.
Yeah, this offensive line is retooling itself as 2 new players, but they're really good players. They're bad in the preseason, but it's the preseason. They'll gel later. Or they should.
Who knows how good the rookie receivers are going to be, too. Like, that could be an elite receiver core in a few years.
Oh.
Well, maybe not all of them, but some of them.
I don't want another dynasty team. Let other teams win, please. Let this be more than one team. As fun as the Chiefs are.
I am so indifferent, I'll be honest. I don't see us being good for another few years. I don't care.
You'll just take fun teams at this point. Doesn't matter who's winning.
I just want to not be disappointed for once. That's all I want.
Well, how much time do you got?
Yeah. No, I know.
All right, we're getting out of the West now. We're going to be heading to a different Texas team. Hey, Shiloh, you're going to be able to go ahead and talk about the Houston Texans.
Oh, boy. Oh. There's really not much to say about the team, which is bad all around. Well, not maybe not all around, but most of it is bad. And they improved in the offseason. They got themselves a quarterback to replace Davis Mills, who was looking like he could have been something last year. Very much showed that he will not be. He'll be backups pretty much around the league, probably for the rest of his career, if he can find jobs for that. In C.J. Stroud, who looks like one of the top 3 quarterbacks out of that draft class. It's just still a bit raw coming out of it. I really, really love Dameon Pierce. When they gave him a majority of the ball, he electrified the run game so much. They bring in Dalton Schultz for the tight end room, which then behind him they've got Brevin Jordan, who I think is a pretty good young talent. They got rid of Cooks, though. There's really not much else to talk about in terms of that offense. Everything still needs help. They could be mediocre at best, I think, because they're still going through their rebuild. But I think they definitely take a step up from last year. They just need a lot more in almost everything. There's not too much to say about them because they're just a bad team that's doing the smart thing and getting better. It's just going to take a while.
They are rebuilding probably for the next 3 years or so.
Yeah.
You get CJ some talent with the next few drafts. Maybe free agency is going to help. But I think, and this is not like a high bar either, if he can play well for at least a few years, he could probably be the best Texas quarterback for that team. But again, it's like you're competing with like David Carr or Matt Schaub, and that's about it. I know this team is like the newest team in the league since like 2000, but it's just like, or 2000, like, yeah, I think 2002 or 3.
I think
but it's like, if you haven't had success really at all at quarterback outside of Matt Schaub, it's not a high bar, but I would hope I wish them success because it'd be interesting to make this division that's supposed to be a 2-team race, a 3-team race, but well, we'll see. Supposedly, I have hopes for the Colts, but at the same time, I don't, is the biggest thing.
I hope for one of those teams. But I will say that there's definitely more quarterback play. It's one person, don't really care to talk about him, but he was by far their best quarterback they've ever had, and Now he's somewhere else playing like dog shit.
I think this is gonna be like you brought up, Shad. I think this will be a better team than last season. I'm not predicting playoffs by any means.
Oh no.
But there's like nice pieces all around.
Yeah.
I know like there's a rumor the front office didn't want CJ Stroud, and since Bryce Young wasn't picked, they were actually gonna go for like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson instead. But at the same time, I like what CJ Stroud showed at Ohio State, especially again in the Georgia game. When he showed like that he does have feet and can actually move around. Oh boy, that field goal just made it in. But yeah, there's nice pieces around. Dameon Pierce wasn't as great as he was talked about in fantasy, but still at least okay. There's nice players to pass to. The defense is actually pretty nice looking. And I have to hope that the Miko Ryans can bring the defense up to a better level. It's already an actually nice defense.
Yeah.
Something interesting I saw about the Texans is that they were 0-7 at home last year.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that. Hearing about
Oh
that.
my god.
Every other team in the AFC at least had at least 2 wins at home.
Jesus. It doesn't help that I think like a lot of the games look like road games as well in terms of the stadium, like in terms of fans.
Yeah.
Like I understand it's Houston and like Texas itself is like a mixed state of like a lot of different teams, fans. But the fact that you can't win one game really or 2 games at home is saying a lot about that team.
Yeah.
They're not comfortable.
Yeah, it
the main
feels
thing.
like if you're playing on the road at home, that's a big issue.
Mhm.
And this is the team this is even before this is a team like when that's like 3 or 4 years. That's fan base loved that team, wanted to see them succeed, and like they fall apart a little bit and everyone goes away. So we'll see them come back hopefully if they're successful, but it's like you can't really love a fan base that abandons you even if you're struggling. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I think the best they can hope for, honestly, is that Stroud gets into it immediately, and that Dameon Pierce, because like we've mentioned before, can steal some games because a run game can steal games for you. And I think that's really the best they can hope for. It's just that those 2 pieces are running on all cylinders.
Yeah, I also think this team will be helped by a much easier schedule as they go from the 8th most difficult schedule they had last season to the predicted 7th easiest this coming one.
Oh yeah.
That should help at least add 1 or 2 more wins.
Yeah, that's about all it'll do, I think, but
Yeah.
we'll do that.
All right, let's move on over to Lucas Oil Stadium now with the Indianapolis Colts.
God,
can
the
you take it away?
Colts, for the most part, should be a good team. They're another one of those teams on paper that have people at every position, except for quarterback. They have an untested quarterback coming in here, Richardson. They have Ehlinger as the 2nd string. And you know it's bad if your 3rd string is Gardner Minshew. That's when you have problems. As an Eagles fan, I know that's when you have problems. And Gardner Minshew is in contention there. They have Kenyon Drake. They have Deion Jackson. They have Zach Moss. They have Jonathan Taylor. Wide receivers, Isaac McKenzie, Michael Pittman Jr., who is a great receiver for them. You're getting Amari Rodgers now. And then you got Mo Alley Cox and tight end. Like, what else do you want? You know? They have everything going for them, but they're not able to put anything together. I mean, their losses are not always close as well. They lost week 16, they lost 14-51 against the Rams. And yes, the Rams are good, but you don't lose by a team by over 30 points. You just don't do that. That's just not what a professional football team does. So I don't know what to say about them other than they should be winning and they're not. And it might take a week or two, whatever, to get in there on it, but they got to figure it out.
I think what doesn't help them is before this, for like 3 or 4 years, you willingly didn't draft a quarterback. you kept going out. You got Phillip Rivers, you got Matt Ryan. Like, you're not
Carson
giving
Wentz.
it. Yeah, Carson Wentz.
I forgot
You
about
didn't go out and get an actual quarterback. There was some good quarterback talent in the drafts leading up to this point. They could have traded up, like, but then you at that point it's just like, hey, here's the leader of this team is a constantly like a new player, an older player. Like, I get Phillip Rivers was out of the three was probably the best, but at that point it's just like you lose a locker room when your main piece is constantly different. And it also doesn't help that you're probably going to lose your running back because
Yeah.
you're not going to give him the money because the league now views it as running backs as expendable positions.
that.
I'm not going to give my opinion on that because I don't have the time. But if you lose Jonathan Taylor, it's going to be a rough few years, and your receiving core is pretty good. Your defense is pretty good, but I just don't see you guys succeeding. Like, I don't see the Colts being a team that's going to be like a contender this year or next year. And I feel like they're constantly going to be 2 or 3 draft picks away the next few years from the Texans.
I'm
So-
going to combat that just because they finally did draft a quarterback. And I agree this year won't be anything because he's a new quarterback and he's not a star.
Mhm.
But I think they could get close to winning, especially the AFC South. They could probably win the division next year
I could
because
see
it's
that.
the AFC South.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
top team, the Jaguars, were 9-8. That's the same record as the worst wildcard team.
Mhm.
And like for the Colts, something their offensive line, I have no idea what happened last season. It wasn't just like a matter of injuries; they just all fell apart. They went from being one of the best in the league to just being paper. I have no idea what happened there, but if they get back to old form, then Anthony Richardson, who's probably will end up starting week 1 because he is a raw talent who needs the reps. You know, I don't really understand why people are making comparisons to Josh Allen. They're completely different quarterbacks. The only thing going was that Anthony Richardson was also raw with not a lot of experience in college. I don't know what the comparison is beyond that.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
I just think it's a very good sign that one of the worst things we can say about this team right now is that we're frustrated with them.
Oh, the owner too, who just had to make some pretty shitty remarks.
Oh yeah, that's. I think I agree for the most part with everything Johnny was saying, which then leads into probably my biggest hot take of this season is this is a team that, despite the fact that they absolutely should not, has the capability to go 0-17 somehow. They shouldn't, but with the issues with Taylor, the question marks at quarterback, health issues, because that was like the biggest reason like the off that line didn't do as well as it should have, because they were almost all Pro Bowlers the year before that. Is they need to have everything going, otherwise I don't think this team wins a lot of the games they should be winning.
I still feel this is like the 3rd best team in their division, maybe 2nd best.
They can
Because
rival
their
the
defense is
Titans.
good. Also, the reason why Gardner Minshew is there because he's familiar with the head coach and the offensive coordinator. He's worked under both of them.
Also, respect the mustache.
That's fair.
Yeah. Also, hey, guaranteed loss for this team. Colts are 0-8 in week 1 since 2014 and 0-6 at Jacksonville since 2015. So, hey,
Yeah.
good for Trevor Lawrence to start up with a win, I guess. I don't know. Maybe this team's Anthony Richardson might come top 3 in offensive rookie at the end, but I think that's the only award this team's getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's move on now. Oh, we have another team that has some running back issues, but of a different kind I'll get to. The Tennessee Titans. In a division filled with question marks and a lack of intrigue, do the Tennessee Titans have what it takes to not just be frisky, but take the division? A team known for mediocrity. Why did I pick all the teams within jokes? for the time before their current coach. If I were to give any sense of confidence, it'd be in former Ohio State Buckeye Mike Vrabel and his ability to get 120% from his plays. Last season, the Titans went into a matchup against Kansas City as 14-point underdogs in a bout between Mahomes and Malik Willis. The game went into overtime, and it took magic for the Chiefs to eke out the victory. Since 2020, the only team in the NFL to be 500 or better against the spread as an underdog are the Tennessee Titans. They always punch above their weight class, no matter how beaten or how frail they get. If the games in the 2022 season ended in the third quarter, this team would have finished with an 11-4-2 record, which also goes to show just how much the former Oilers fell apart at the end to end up with a 7-10 record instead. In the fourth quarter, the Titans had a minus 54-point margin and recorded minus 0.27 EPA per play, which is dead last in the league, and the only team with a worse EPA per play in this quarter was the 2006 Raiders. The Titans certainly hit hard back at their competition, but ultimately went 0-9 against playoff teams for the worst such record in 2022, and will face 7 teams in 2023 that were in last season's playoffs. This is a team trying to break in a new quarterback as they drafted Mayo Man Will Levis to replace Ryan Tannehill. Derrick Henry is going to be turning 30 this season. The offensive line is getting remade with 3 new starters, including first-round pick left guard Peter Skronsky from Northwestern, I believe. And the unit as a whole is the cheapest in the league. DeAndre Hopkins was a great pickup. He actually, one of the few teams where him being added on actually probably gets them an extra win. The pass catchers aren't intimidating otherwise unless Treylon Burks and Jago Conco actually prove their training camp hype to be real. The defense is possibly what's going to keep this team in games. A pass rush that continues to play above the perceived talent level and level-headed schemes that will frustrate any quarterback they face. The defense just needs the offense to do its part and try not to ignore reality on how the modern NFL is played. Let's just hope that their new GM Rand Carthorne's comments saying that Golden State Warriors style play is only cool during the season, but it's rough, rugged defense and a powerful run game that wins championships doesn't actually come in play, seeing as 5 out of 6 of the last Super Bowl winners were top 5 pass rates that season, the exception being New England, who was number 11. And hey, maybe the Titans did realize this as they did a lot to improve their pass game, and including making the pass game coordinator their offense coordinator. Let's see if that actually does anything. Yeah, I mean, this is a team that saw a lot of loaded boxes, so because everyone knew they wanted to run, and they were terrible at running when they did. I don't know. I don't really think too much of this team other than if Jags slip, the Titans might accidentally win the division.
I feel like the Colts have a better path than the Titans do.
The Titans just keep getting older, and they went out and got someone who doesn't need to be on this team. I have nothing against DeAndre Hopkins, but once they signed DeAndre Hopkins, before they signed DeAndre Hopkins, their Super Bowl / playoff chances in Vegas didn't change. I don't think the team changes. I think there's going to be spectacular plays by D-Hop. I think Derrick Henry's probably still going to run through defenders, but I just can't view the team as winners. If they win, good for them. That's not going to surprise me, but I just don't see them contending. I hope the quarterback play gets better. It is weird they didn't move on from Tannehill.
Yeah.
Like, he's costing them way too much money, and if they win the division, this is one of those teams where if they win, good for them. If they lose, I'm not going to be surprised. I think,
would be. I'd be surprised if they won the division.
Yeah, but it's like, this is also one of those divisions where it could go to anyone because
except for the Texans.
Except for the Texans.
I think it's going to one person. That's one team.
I think it's a 3-team race for mediocrity. I'll be honest.
Same.
I can see another situation where the top team in the division will have tied for the worst wild card again. I can see that happening again.
Like a potential 8-9 record, or 9-7
less than 500 making the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a possibility. That's the biggest thing.
We'll get on to what I think and then the next team. But it's there's no one on that team besides Henry. And that's how it has been. And it's just because for me the question mark is obviously Hopkins, great player, but is it going to be another Julio Jones situation where he comes in and just doesn't do anything? And then Tannehill is already shown to, in important games, completely cost them the game. With the 2 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, 3 interceptions where they could have, if they had scored on at least like one of them, I think they probably have a chance to win that game. It's just, there's nothing remarkable about this team. I think their saving grace is the division they're in.
Yeah.
To the other team that most of us think are in contention, one of those things, I guess the only one in contention. We're going to the weird part of Florida, or the weirdest part of Florida in Jacksonville.
I don't hate Jacksonville is the biggest thing. I like the play of Trevor Lawrence. I think this team has a big upside. But again, Jacksonville's one of those teams where it's just like you could be good or bad and no one's really gonna pay attention. Because there's better teams in the league. And Jacksonville is just always that team where it's like, oh my god, Jacksonville's good, and like they're like, yeah, and it's like, wow. But it's their division to lose, but I think it's going to be close between potentially the Titans if they're able to put a winning season together, or even the Colts. Do I see them winning double-digit games? Not really. No, they'll have to come out swinging hard to win the division. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be the most mid-division in the entire NFL. And there's a lot of divisions out there that are not great.
Mm-hmm. I'm probably the highest here on Jacksonville because I think they'll continue to take steps forward. Because I think once they got rid of Urban Meyer, that team has just like not quite skyrocketed, but just continued to get better. And comparing them to the rest of the division, I don't think, for me at least, it's a question who wins that division. I think it's far and away the Jags. Maybe a hot take. I think they do get the double-digit wins as well on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Trevor Lawrence has just kind of like transformed this team like most expected he would.
I honestly blocked the Urban Meyer saga from Jacksonville from my brain. It was really bad. Like,
yeah,
I gotta go spend more time with my family and wife.
I do very much question a lot for this team. Trevor Lawrence, I'm okay with. He's great. He'll probably be, if not top 10, at least close to top 10 this season. Mm-hmm. But, oh boy, his offensive line is offensively bad.
Yeah.
It was 31st in pass block win rate in 2022. And, hey, they added Anton Harrison. Cam Robinson, who's is going to be out sometime for a PED suspension. Also, their defense is still trash. Josh Allen, good. Everyone else, unchanged from last season. And that was already one of the worst defenses in the league.
Mm.
You don't improve by staying stagnant.
Yeah, you improve by going out and getting a receiver who gambled.
Or,
and lost.
Doing last year, spending $75 million on a wide receiver 3. And
and Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
I genuinely think their best signing last year in terms of defense was Olulukon, because he's a player that can read the play and just get tackles so he can stop. But at the same time, it's like that's all you're really bringing to the table is you can garner up to 100 tackles per season. So it's like you're always in the area in which the play is happening, but you're not really like doing anything else. Yeah. You're not making a difference. You're just doing your job efficiently.
The only one that wasn't like Trevor Lawrence that came in and made a difference is probably just Zay Jones. Because he was so good for them.
Yeah.
When they had the chance. Yeah.
Do you have anything, Marv? Well?
Not really. You guys pretty much said it all, and like I said, I don't see them doing as well. I see the Colts doing better than them this year.
I think
which may be
Jack-
my hot take, but
Yeah, I mean, I think Jacksonville has the better odds out of Colts, Titans, and them. I don't think it's astronomical by any means. I think it's just by a little bit, just because it's like I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to get to that Joe Burrow, Mahomes transcendental level, and if that would be enough realistically.
That's fair.
Like, this is a team that might, just like the other two mentioned, might win, but would only need 8 or 9 wins. And that's 10
They'll
wins is my ceiling for this team.
It's really sad for football all around when you look at a division. That's like you have to get to double-digit wins to win a division. That's the bar. Like
that's it.
it's like it's hard to win a football game, but if you only have to win 10 of the possible 17, it's not a high bar.
Yeah.
It's not bad for football. It's just like it's mediocrity at its finest.
It's the
It's a
like the
free wild
NFC
card
East
for
a
the
few
other 3
years ago.
divisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the touch on. Is like I think they're benefiting from their situation and the fact that probably most, if not, if they're lucky, half of their wins will come from the division games because they probably win 4, maybe sweep it if they can win in Indianapolis. But you know, at least 4 of those games that they're winning because they're not too hard to win.
God
And
no.
most of those wins, their wins are going to come from is the division.
So you're also going to be saying something more?
Yeah, I was just saying that it's essentially a free wild card spot for the rest of the division.
Yeah.
The rest of the conference.
Most of the AFC teams, for the most part, it'll be probably hard for a 10-win team in the AFC to get into the wild card. And then you have this team at this division.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's enough of the AFC South. Got a few minutes to spare. Any other things we wanted to hit on that they missed before?
I will ask this since we're all fantasy players here.
Yeah.
Outside of the obvious, who is someone you kind of want to take this year because you think they have a high upside?
Ooh.
Because I know, like, you could say, like, you know, obviously, like, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey. But I feel like there's got to be a diamond in the rough out there that someone's going to take because they truly think they have a high ceiling.
I mean, this would be like more towards the end of things, but I would have taken Elijah Moore just because he would be a lot better with Cleveland than he was in New York. But that's
Okay.
like he's going to be like on a bench for the most part still.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, for like diamond in the rough, I don't know if I can think of anyone.
Well, or what's a player you think will probably fall to like the 6th or 7th round and you can just still pick up is the biggest thing. Because I know like the first 5 or so picks are going to be your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, potential running backs, quarterbacks, yada yada yada. You know.
One for me might be somebody that I really, really love the past 2 years who's been on a downward trend, but I really want to see him come back. Marquise Brown.
Yeah, yeah. I know you. I know
Oh,
you
on
have
the
a
Browns.
high belief, Marquise Brown. Because he's a deep threat is the biggest thing, and he's also like if you has the ability to play the open field, he can get 5 or 6 catches a game, 70 yards, maybe a touchdown. You know, no, but he's never going to make the stat sheet look like he is a RB or not RB1, a wide receiver 1. But he's
Right
still good
now-
enough to
I was
he
thinking
could be
Ogden.
good.
He's rated as wide receiver 32. I want to see him break top 20.
Yeah.
I want to see
I-
him break top 20.
Someone who I think is probably going to outperform another receiver this year, even though they're on the same team. I want to see Brandon Ayuk do better than Debo this year. Because I know Debo is no longer a gadget player because they have McCaffrey, who is the ultimate gadget player. I hope he makes that push, becomes the true wide receiver 1 out in San Francisco, and I will keep my eye on him.
Okay.
Maybe a bit of a bias on this one, but I think for someone that's probably going to fall that far in the draft, purely because CeeDee Lamb is going to be taking so much of the pressure off him, is how well Brandon Cooks is going to be. I think he could like be sneaky one of the better receivers. Maybe not like top 10 or anything like that, but with CeeDee Lamb and Cooks there, he's gonna get a lot of looks.
I like Brandon Cooks because he's a journeyman. He has been a Ram, a Patriot, a Ram again, a Texan, and now he's on the Cowboys. Just like, I wish you would have found a spot sooner, and I hope Dallas can make you that home. But I don't know is the biggest thing.
Mhm.
I think I have one. I figured out another person. The new tight end for the Bengals, Irv Smith Jr. Because they
That's a
need
possibility.
someone to throw to at that position.
He's just never had a chance to like show what he can do because
Yeah.
Conklin was always ahead of him.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that you have like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase,
Mixon when he's healthy.
Mixon when he's healthy, Tyler Boyd. You have like 5 spots ahead of you. It's like you can get open, you could, or be a very good blocker, but it's like it's hard to shine on an offense full of supposed like gyms already. Is the biggest thing.
Anything else?
I'm good. I'm okay.
Okay. I just remember like I had different things talking about like the rest advantages some of these teams have, like some other stuff like that. That's like into the more nitty and gritty, but I'll just think to that myself when I get to my side of like the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's something else to talk about. Then we can go ahead and close out here. And we'll pick up next Monday with same time with the NFC, which is not as exciting of a conference, but there's still plenty of talent there.
Oh yeah.
I get to be mean next week on purpose.
All right.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah.
What? I think the most winningest team I have next week is the Vikings.
What?
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
I don't look at your teams.
I could go down. Oh, you're talking about for you. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
the
of
Eastern thing, yeah.
me, because I have like the Falcons, the Commanders, like a lot of studs next week.
For me, I think I have what will probably be the team in the NFC as long as they don't die like they always.
You're covering the Eagles next week?
I'm not. I'm sadly covering the 49ers.
Oh. That was a team. If it wasn't Marv's team, I would have begged for that.
Yeah.
So we'll
I
talk
would be
about
like,
it.
give me Philadelphia.
We'll talk about it more next week. But for me, the East is a question mark because it's going to come down to like there's a big stretch where there's a lot of hard games for the Eagles, and I think the division comes down to that. Because Eagles, Cowboys both have pretty good teams that they're playing otherwise, but I think they both do very well, and the division's not going to be too far apart. Maybe 1, maybe 2 games. It'll be fun to see how that turns out.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just be it for now. Thank you all for joining. Can't wait to have our talks again in a week. See you all
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.